Hey everybody, I thought I'd take some time and tell you a little bit about this guitar. This guitar is really special to me. I bought this guitar the first time back in 1993. This is a 1993 D-1 Collings and made in Austin, Texas. And at that time, I had heard about Collings through the ads that John Holman out of Dallas there was running about the Clarence White guitars. That was the first time I'd even heard the name Collings or Bill Collings. And I remember when I first moved to Tennessee, it was back in 1987. George Gruen had a Collings. It was a D2 East Indian guitar down there in his shop. And I'm not sure what year it was. I just remember that was the first time I'd actually played a Collings. And man, I really fell in love with that guitar and loved the sound of it. And I just, that was always, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to get one of those guitars one day. And I remember those Clarence White. I remember seeing those ads about the Clarence White guitars in the magazine. It just blew me away. Especially the ad. He had an ad there one time about the Collings did one time. It was just had close-ups of like the inlay, the rosette, and I think it just simply said on the ad something about just details. And that was the first thing when I saw that first Collings down at George's downtown there on Broadway. Man, I looked it over really good, and I thought, man, what clean workmanship this guitar had. It just blew me away how clean everything looked inside, and I just remember staring at that guitar for the longest time and just couldn't believe everything was perfect about it. The finish and everything. The neck felt like an old pre-war guitar, and man, I just loved everything about it. And then fast forward to about 1993, I got a call, I think, from Dan Lashbrook, and he said, "Hey, if you're going to be by the house anytime soon," he said he had a D1 guitar it was really good, and he wanted to show it to me. And he said it was for sale. And so we stopped by his house. I think it was on a Saturday. And man, it was this guitar. I picked up this one and hit a chord on it and just couldn't believe the tone for a new guitar. And I was just excited about it. And so I went home after that, and I said, man, I really want it. Let me sell some things and try to get the money for it. So I sold some stuff, and by the next Friday, I had the money, and called Dan up, and he said, man, I just sold that guitar. It was on a Friday. It was like a week. And he said, but let me talk to this guy that just bought it. He said he's got a lot of guitars, and let me talk to him. Maybe he'll sell it to you. And so I called him back up after Dan gave me the thumbs up, said that he had worked it out. He thought that this guy would sell it to me. So, man, that Saturday got up that morning, and I was going to meet him at the Cracker Barrel and parking lot. Well, he had just got the guitar, and man, he was really excited about it too. And man, I ended up spending 3 hours there. I think about 3 hours in the parking lot begging this guy to sell me this guitar. I told him that I'd sold stuff, and I told him, I said I really wanted that guitar because it was the best guitar that I could afford at the time, and it was just a really good guitar. I felt like I had some sort of connection with it, and so, man, at the end of the deal there, he finally said, hey, you can have the guitar, but you can't have the case. So I said, man, that's okay. Whatever makes the deal go through. So I remember putting the guitar back. I wrapped it up. I had a blanket in my car and wrapped it up in the blanket, put it in the back seat. I remember I was going up. There's an exit there, Black Mountain, and I turned off that exit there, and I got off the exit, and there was a picnic table pretty close to where you get off the exit there at Black Mountain, and I remember getting the guitar out and playing about, I don't know, I probably played it about 45 minutes to an hour there at the picnic table, and just couldn't believe it was mine. This guitar, I remember when I first got it, man, my playing just felt like it just kept climbing. It really inspired me to play. It was one of the things that I think inspired me so much was the tone, first of all, and then it was Dan had put all this stuff on it. It was everything that he had all this fossil ivory on it when I first had it. It had a fossil ivory nut, saddle, and then he made these bridge pins that looked like 22 rifle shells. They were flat on the top, and I remember seeing those and going, man, that is pretty neat right there. And man, it just played great. It was loud, and I remember, any place that I played it that had a microphone. I was doing a lot of contests at the time. There, it sounded great on the because it was mahogany. It just sounded great over the sound system. It just projected well. And for a new guitar, man, I just it was the best guitar. And then around 95, I got in the deal there. I ended up having to sell the guitar. I had to sell it, and but I sold it. I think I sold it back to Dan. Is what I did, and I thought, well, maybe I'll have it for a while till I can, keep track of it and maybe buy it back someday. Well, it changed hands quite a few times, and the last thing I had tracked it down through, I think it was Dan and who he sold it to, and I think I might have got hold of that person and kind of tracked it down to. I heard that it was traded in at Gruen Guitars again. George had it, so went down there. Of course, they didn't have it. It was already sold. And at that time, I think Steve Huber was working there, and I was friends with him. And so I asked Steve. I said, "Man, do you know anybody in the the bookkeeping department or whatever?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Man, I need to maybe look up a receipt that this guitar that I once owned." And he said, "Yeah, I can try to get a hold of whoever's doing the bookkeeping." So they found the receipt to the guitar, and I kid you not, the only thing on this receipt, they didn't have anybody's name or phone number or anything on this receipt, and it said songwriter in Nashville. That's all it said on the receipt. I thought, man, this thing's going to be impossible to find, here in Nashville. So I pretty much gave up on it. I gave up on ever finding it again. And so around, I think it was 2005, we were doing quite a bit of traveling and flying. So we started flying a lot, and so I bought another D-1A, another Collings. I got it through Danny Bishop, through his shop, and I had that guitar, and so had that guitar for, I don't know, quite a while. And they at one point in time, Collings were doing these photo shoots, and so they did a photo shoot of that guitar. It was kind of in a barn, and they was running ads, and like I think they ran one in Bluegrass Unlimited and maybe Flat Pick Guitar magazine, Flat Picking Guitar, Dan Miller's magazine. I think they run an ad there. Well, there was a guy, Dick Daniels. He he saw that ad, and he calls me up one day, and he got hold of me and said, "Hey, this is Dick Daniels," and he said, "I think I have one of your guitars." And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "I know." He said, "I saw that ad on your new Collings guitar," but he said, "I think I have your old one. I think I have the one you used to own." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Is it a 93?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, does it have a like a Clarence White pick guard on it?" And I said, "Kind of a, tortoise looking pick guard." He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, does it have this wild Brazilian peghead overlay?" He said, "Yeah, it's got that on it." I said, "Man, that's got to be it." So me and Manda took off. I even forget now where we met Dick Daniels at. I think he was at some hotel that was near Virginia, and he was on business, and we went down there, and I ended up buying the guitar. So that had to be back around, I guess, 2006, I think. But the story on this pick guard, it's kind of got some different things. They usually have a different pick guard on the D1s, and they didn't have a really fancy overlay. But Dan had told me, I think if I get the story right, there was a gentleman in Asheville that ordered two Clarence White guitars, and then he had this one on order too, just a D1. And so I think Collings made all three guitars to look similar. So this is why it's got this different pick guard on it, kind of the Clarence White, what they would put on a Clarence White guitar, and then it had this real wild overlay on the peg head, and it was really really different. And Dan, one of the things Dan did too, he had scooped the fingerboard down here, and so I just when I first got the guitar, I took it to we played this picnic for Collings. We just happened to be out in Texas, and I think we were doing some. Me and Amanda were doing these Collings stores that were dealers, and we'd do a workshop during the day, and then we'd do a concert immediately after the workshop, and we was doing a whole string of those things, and we ended up coming around to Texas and Austin, and so we stopped by the factory there, and they had a picnic that day, and they had all this barbecue and stuff, and I ended up while we were there, I had Bill ended up fixing this part of the fingerboard that Dan had altered and everything, which it was fine. But Bill he ended up fixing that part, and one of the things that Bill said, he looked at this top, and this top has got it's a Sitka top, but it's got really pretty wide grain on the top, and Bill got to looking at the top, and he goes, "Man, I remember that billet." And I go, "Really?" And I go, "You're kidding me." He goes, "No." He said he remembers because this log, this billet they had, it was so big that they ended up getting two tops, two sets of tops out of the one billet. It was that big of a tree, and he was looking at it. He goes, he says, "I know exactly what billet that top came off of," and so after that, man, I think I counted up. I think we figured out between me and Dick Daniels there that owned it, and we figured out it might have had maybe 7 or 8 owners after I'd sold it. And when I got it back, all that stuff that Dan had put on it, the real nice fossil ivory nut saddle and those bridge pins, was totally off of it. Somebody had changed it, and everybody had, I guess, worked on the neck a little bit when we got it back. And that's the thing, everybody tries to set it up their way, and so they had took so much wood off of the neck heel here. They took so much wood off it. The 14th fret was over quite a bit over the body joint, and so I tried to I would move the saddle back, but it never sounded right. I never could get it to sound like when I first owned it, and it always bugged me. And man, it sat in the case, and that really hurt me too because I knew what a great guitar this thing was, and it sat in the case. And I every once in a while I'd get it out and kind of mess with it, but it just never would play in tune, and it was because of this fret was off. The whole scale was off, and I couldn't get it right. It was almost back to the bridge pins. And while we were there talking to Nully, I mentioned this guitar and said, "Man, it's got some problems," and it was nothing that Collings did. It just wasn't right. And I asked him. I said, "Man, I don't know how to fix it." And Nully said, "Well, why don't we just make a new neck?" He said that might just heal everything. And so I thought about it, and I called Nully back up and I said, "Hey, I'm going to take you up on that. I think that might be what this guitar needs." And so I sent it to him, and they Nelly made this neck, and it is just I'm amazed what a difference it made in this guitar. It saved it, and I tell you, it has never sounded better in my opinion. Hadn't been strung up long. I just got it back from them. It had a longer saddle in it when I had it before that Dan put on it. I'm trying to make it kind of everything that I had on it when I had it in '93. Even I made these pins. They're not fossil ivory, but I made them that. Tried to make them as close as I remember how Dan had put on the original pins, and so they got the flat tops on them, and yeah, so man, I'm excited about playing this guitar out again, and I'm just big heartfelt thanks to Collings and Nully and everyone that had a part on working on this neck. It was mainly Nully, and I just appreciate him so much bringing this guitar back to life. And hopefully I'll have it out on the road, and you can check it out.